Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could take sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Episode 314, we have the great Charlie Kirk in the house. And by the way, let me tell you what, this is a special podcast because this may be the last podcast he does in his 20s.
That's
because
right.
he's turning 30 this week.
That's right.
30.
I'm getting way too old for this stuff, Patrick. I'm getting
way
too old.
too old for this stuff.
I'm going to retire at 30.
This is it for you.
It's been a good run.
Yeah, that makes sense. Somehow I don't believe that. You got a lot more work to do. You got a lot of things to do, and you're not the type of guy that's going to slow down. But, obviously we're sitting here going through all the stories, and we wish we didn't have these stories to go through. We wish the stories were slightly different, but the world is a mess today. First, we're dealing with Ukraine and Russia. Last year, the last 6, 12, whatever the timeline's been, we're dealing with economy. We're dealing with interest rates. We're dealing with people defaulting on car payments. We're dealing with corporations defaulting on their debt payments. We're dealing with unemployment right now, concerning with what's going to happen with that. Is that going to move or is it not going to move? If it's not moving, Jerome Powell wants to continue increasing interest rates. That's scary for some people. People are no longer buying houses.
Yep.
Even with all that stuff going on, then all of a sudden this happens this last week. Hamas, Israel, Palestine, and protesting down the street from here. 300 people protesting down the street from our office.
In Florida.
In Florida. To the point where DeSantis had to come out and tweet about it. The governor had to come out and tweet about it. But anyways, I'll pause. It's great to have you. I know you're obviously following the story very closely.
I am. Yeah.
What's on your mind? What are you thinking? What's going on?
Yeah, I just want to, first for the audience, to make sure everyone's thinking about this clearly. This was not a typical military type attack. When Russia invaded Ukraine, which was bad, they went after military targets. I mean, some civilians get caught in the crossfire, but the targets were military in nature. This is completely different. This was Hamas that penetrated the border. They did engage some IDF soldiers, and then they did a detour and went to concerts and kibbutzes, women and children. This is the closest to the Holocaust that any of us have seen in our life. 1,200 Jews slaughtered in one day, and from paragliders, and I mean, you see at the concert videos, these young ladies are running through the fields and they're mowing them down mercilessly. And now we know well over 15 Americans are dead. It might actually be more than that now because the death tally keeps on getting higher and higher. And I'll be honest, Patrick, the Israel situation is important to talk about geopolitically. How American passport holders, American citizens have been reacting here domestically has really captured my attention.
What do you mean by that?
Well, for example, the student body president at NYU Law sent out a message the other day saying Israel brought this upon themselves. 31 Harvard students said this is a great thing, right?
Not students, student organizations.
Yes, that's correct.
Bigger group, yeah.
That's right. And Columbia University, something very similar. George Washington University, something very similar. Cal State Long Beach, some of the student organizers, Patrick, they were bringing out images of the paraglider as if they said these are freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. These people are sick. There is no middle ground with this. There is no other side of the story. This is the massacring of women and children. And so I think that, we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, how do you get to a place where that kind of moral toxin becomes so infiltrated into your country, into the zeitgeist, into the narrative? Then you have Black Lives Matter Global Network in Chicago. They deleted this tweet, probably not because they don't believe it, but because, quite honestly, they got such backlash where they also had the paraglider, where they said, a fight for justice somewhere is a fight for justice anywhere. So this has been, I'll be honest, I do this for a living. I do 3 hours a radio day, 3 hours a podcast. This has been a very heavy week. I mean, heavy morally, heavy geopolitically, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. The entire region is blowing up. It could turn into a regional war. And not to mention our own country is collapsing in real time.
So I fully agree with you. If you want to show this, Rob, so the audience can see this as well. I'm sure they've seen it all over.
Tweet.
Yeah, they deleted it, but this has been all over the place.
We know why.
You know what I love about this, though? Let me tell you what I love about this, because during times of crisis, everybody reveals themselves and who they are. Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. You come out, you show that, and then all of a sudden, hey, NBA, how come you've been quiet? Didn't you put BLM all over the place?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, NFL. Hey, what happened? Apple. Hey, all these other. Weren't you guys all supportive of this? What do you think about this? Do you support this? Well, no, we don't support this. Let's just stay kind of quiet. Their PR guys are saying what they're saying. But the question I got for you is the following. obviously, we live in America, and everybody that's listened to this from all over the world, whatever country you're in, your priority is where you live. It should be.
Yes.
It's where your kids are. It's where your family is. Your priority is the state you live in.
Yes.
Our priority is here. The people that live in Israel, their priority is Israel. Everybody's priority is where they live in. The concern here is, Vinny, can you share some of those numbers from October 2021 to October 2023?
Yep.
Who has crossed the southern border, if you don't mind giving some of that data?
All right, so do you guys know how many special interest illegal aliens have been caught?
Is this the
at
article?
border? Yeah, this is it. So, and for everybody that doesn't know, special interest alien is anyone from countries that pose a national security threat that might support or shelter terrorism. Customs and Border Patrol have estimated that 1.5 million illegals entered the U.S. without being detected. And no wonder why, Charlie, because I feel like this is all a plan. Here are the numbers. Agents recorded special interest aliens. Syria coming into the country from October 2021 to October 2023, Pat, in 2 years. Syria, 538. Yemen, 139. Iran, 659. Iraq, 123. Afghanistan, 6,386. Lebanon, 164. Egypt, 3,153. Pakistan, 1,613. Turkey, 30,830, and Uzbekistan, 13,624. And let's not forget, Pat, and Charlie, you know this, 200. The FBI have caught on the terror watch list, 200 that we caught, let alone the ones that we have no idea about. So then that goes to ask people the question, Pat, why is the border, why did they let the border wide open this entire time? That's exactly why the freaking reason is, and it's going to get worse.
What do you mean by that's why the reason is?
But Pat, here's my thing. For the past couple of years, Charlie, all of us have been watching Pat Mayorkas in front of Congress, and they're like, everybody yelling at them, like, why is the border wide open? No answer. He beats around the bush. He can't give a specific answer. It's almost as if, Pat, all these people aren't here right now to do something crazy to us in this country because, as you know, the Hamas leader.
But why, though?
I think because one of them is to cause chaos, Pat, because guess what? Election is coming up too. They can't do pandemic again. How are you going to keep everybody at home? Remember House of Cards, season 5, episode 7? They did a fake terrorist thing at a polling thing. Nobody's going to go. If something happens at a polling center, they're going to shut down. Guess what? Who's going to go vote, Pat? You're going to vote from your house. Why else? Is it a humanitarian thing? You think they care about Venezuelans and Mexicans and people? And by the way, these people that are coming in, Charlie, you know, all these guys, that's 18 to 35.
That's right.
They're military fighting age men, Pat. And the UN is giving them cards, Charlie, with money on it and a cell phone saying, hey, go get an apartment. And when we call you,
that's right.
We'll like.
Vin, this is actually pretty shocking to me because I don't want to just gloss over this. Oh, Vinny, like these are people from the Middle East that they've caught at the U.S. border crossing.
But that's just 1 year.
Okay,
1 year.
That's just in 1 year.
And that's who we've caught, not who's gotten away.
And this is who's been caught, meaning they didn't catch everybody. So why would someone from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all these countries, why would they be coming through the southern border?
Let me stay on this series of questions I'm asking.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm going with this. Okay. So let's say they're doing it intentionally. Let's process that.
Okay.
1, who is they? 2, why are they doing it intentionally?
Yeah, I think it's obviously they're doing it intentionally. And let's just say the Democrat Party and moderate Republicans, they have different reasons for it. And the Democrat Party thinks that they get more power politically if they allow the third world to come into the country. They're not totally right about that, actually. It turns out that third world people that enter America, they have values that are against white upper middle class woke liberalism. But don't take my word for it. Look at the Castro brothers. The Castro brothers, who one was a mayor of San Antonio, the other one served in the Obama administration, Housing and Urban Development. One of them ran the Democrat National Committee. There's a clip that you could find on CBS Face the Nation. They have memory hold this clip. So if you find it, kudos on you. Where they said, they were in this interview. And they said, hey, in just a couple of years, you're going to be calling the electoral votes for Texas for Democrats because of how many Hispanics are coming into Texas. These are 2 card-carrying partisan Democrats that are telling you that Texas will become blue, will become Democrat because they're allowing people from the third world to come. Now, mind you, Patrick, what I just said, I get attacked by the media. They say, oh, this is a great replacement conspiracy theory. Sure. And that's what's called a thought-terminating cliche. They say it to you so you don't actually think about it. But why else would they keep the border completely wide open? There is no border right now. And Border Patrol is not deterring entry into the United States. They are facilitating entry into the United States. They are co-sponsoring it. I live in a border state. We are experiencing 5,000 a day. 5,000 a day. And Border Patrol is basically saying, come to us, here's your court date, here's your piece of paper into the interior United States, see you in a couple years maybe, and they don't show up for their court date.
Yeah.
Right? So there's two aspects to this. First is just the flow of people that are coming that are going to destabilize our social services that, look what's happening in New York, right? They don't have the infrastructure to support it. The more immediate concern and caution I have is sleeper cells in the United States that are from terrorist countries that could be activated to do harm against the homeland. And that's not fear-mongering. The head of Hamas said this tomorrow. He's called for look at his own words.
Yeah, Khalid Mashal.
I want to make sure I'm accurate.
No, you're
here.
right. Khalid Mashal called for international.
Is it translated in English? Can you?
No, but I want to make sure I'm accurate because I get attacked by the media for fear mongering.
No, you're not. You're actually right. I have it over here.
Please read
His name is Khalid Mashal. He was the ex-chief.
Global Day of Jihad tomorrow.
Yeah, he said show anger, especially on Friday in Muslim countries, also among Muslim diaspora around the world, and he called it the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood. He said this will send a message of rage to Zionists to America. He asked for financial help from all Muslims around the world to help their money, and he called it a financial jihad. He asked Muslims to give the fighters of Gaza in order to compensate them for destruction. The more important thing, Pat, this is final words. Funds are important, but today we are asking for your blood and souls to be sacrificed for Palestine. So I'm giving everybody a heads up, and that's why they've always.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. It's Friday the 13th, and Charlie, with everything that's going on, with the failure of security, with a message like that from this demon, thank God for our founding fathers for giving us the Second Amendment. Thank you, God, because guess what? I dare, when shit pops off here, Pat, God, I feel bad for everybody that happened over there. Nobody had guns for 3 to 6 hours. Apparently, the best military, one of the best ones in the world, just disappeared. Over here, I'm proud of America because we got guns. Come try that shit with us.
Let's stay on this. Let's stay on this because I actually want to go a little bit deeper. Okay, so the people in Texas, we're going to turn it blue. The more immigrants we bring, fine. Totally get that. Strategically, respect it. Fine. I totally understand what you're doing to the left. You want to turn your state to be more blue? Cool. Do your thing. Texas has been an enemy for a long time. I get it. However, the they people, okay, not the lower level people, the they people. The they people typically have money. The they people typically want to control their wealth. These are the puppet masters. These are the guys that have the money that are controlling. Why would they be okay with allowing 70,000, whatever the number was, to come through, knowing these they people are probably legacy people who have wives, who have kids, who have grandkids? Why would they do that knowing they could jeopardize the community they're in, the value of their property, the value of their company, the value of their business? Why would they do that?
Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote The Gulag Archipelago, which brought down the Soviet Union, and he said, thanks to ideology, this all happened. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'll tie it together. You can go to the George Soros Open Society Foundation website and just show people. He believes in an ideological campaign that borders are the worst thing ever. Sovereign nations are the problem. George Soros is a devout believer in that ideology. And what has been an eye-opener for me, Patrick, and I can use a couple examples, reality is not the ultimate verdict of how you act. Ideology can actually be more critical. In New York City, a week and a half ago, a young lady was sitting on a park bench with her boyfriend. You might have covered this story, right?
We did.
3:51 a.m. A black guy comes by, slits the throat of the boyfriend. She doesn't even administer first aid. That's not the point. It's very strange. When the police went to her, she refused to give the race of the attacker.
Oh, my God.
Because she did not want people to think it was done for race.
Wow.
I'll give you another example. A young lady was gang raped in Germany by Arabs, okay? I'm not saying all Arabs do it, but unfortunately it's a pattern that we're seeing spike in Europe. It's a thing. Arab Muslims. She goes to the police and says, I was gang raped. They said, please describe your attackers. And she says it was 6 white Germans.
Jesus.
So they go and try to find 6 white Germans. They fail. They come back and she admits, oh, actually, it was 6 Arab Muslims. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to increase the amount of anti-immigrant fervor. She protected her rapists because she was taking ideology over reality. Patrick, why? Why does Soros want the borders open? He's a devotee to an ideological, dare I say, pseudo-religion to create the world into a different type of place. No borders, no cash, no property. You can call it heaven on earth, utopia. You can even call it immanentizing the eschaton. That's like that's a religious term. That we're going to bring the eternal promise of paradise here, paradiso, as Dante would say, and they want it now. And they think that the problem is Western society. The problem is private property. The problem is America. And if you look at through that lens, all of a sudden you say, wow, Biden is not incompetent, it's intentional. You destroy the dollar. You keep the border open. You weaken the military. It gets you closer to a one world government, of which they are bragging in the World Economic Forum. Vision 2030. You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. Okay. America will no longer be the world's superpower. Anyway, I don't mean to filibuster.
Let's still stay on this. Okay. For out of the 900 billionaires that we have in America, for every one Soros, how many billionaires, power players, are against it? Meaning, do I believe Soros has another 20 buddies that think and believe what he believes in? Sure. Do I think he's got another 50? Sure. I don't know what the number is. I don't think it's that big of a number that you think it is, but I think he does have a group of people.
He has a circle.
Okay, yeah. I'm with it. I think that's a smaller than 50, more than 10 people.
Sure.
Let's say it's something like that. But the other guys are not with it. I don't see a Griffin being for it. I don't see Schwartzman being for it. I don't see a Buffett being for it. I don't see a Musk being for it. I don't see even a Bezos being for it. Yeah. I don't see a lot of these bigger power players being for it.
So Musk, to his credit, is fighting against it. Bezos is afraid. His ex-wife is for it. Mackenzie Bezos is pumping billions of dollars into the most radical left-wing causes you could imagine. I'll give you another name that's not talked about, a devotee to the ideological agenda. Laureen Powell Jobs, one of the wealthiest women on the planet, Steve Jobs' widow, worth $20 billion. She owns The Atlantic magazine. She also runs something called the Emerson Collective. You could look at it. She's one of the biggest donors to that. She's an ideological devotee. But Patrick, I will agree with you. If you get 100 random billionaires in the country, every industry, right? Sports, oil, auto manufacturing. The problem is many of them are cowards, and that they do not want to fight. They would rather have their business be protected. They would rather be able to have a backup
plan. Your business is not being protected.
No, but they're not fighting, Patrick. Musk is. That's why Musk is being criminally investigated by the Southern District of New York for a house. Did you see this story? Mm-hmm. A glass house. That is a warning shot to Musk to tell him to back off, and he doesn't, to his credit. Musk has done such good for humanity to be what Carnegie and Rockefeller and JP Morgan used to be, because we think so negatively of those people, but they loved America. We have a different problem in our country. The powerful hate the country that they got rich in. It's very bizarre, and it's incredibly insidious. So you think about it, right? If you look at the elites, you're always going to have elites, right? You're always going to have a ruling class.
There's always been one. Yeah.
And this idea of egalitarianism, that everyone's going to be equal, is garbage. We should then argue for better elites. Elites that want to steward the country and care about the middle class, not elites that are worried about executing a cultural and political blitzkrieg on the fabric of the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. And it doesn't take a lot of them, Patrick. You get a Soros, you get a Laureen Powell Jobs, another name for you, Reid Hoffman, another name for you, Mark Benioff. Benioff's a legit Marxist. Like, that guy is to the left of Stalin.
He bought Time magazine.
Yeah,
he's a Salesforce.
He's a Salesforce, and these are just off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
So you get Laureen Powell Jobs, you get Benioff, right? You get Mackenzie Bezos, you get Soros. You're talking about serious capital in addition to the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and in addition to the institutional capture and control. And then you get some people that quietly, I agree. I think Jeff Bezos is probably in private more libertarian than he is liberal, based on everyone that I know that knows him. But he wants to put rockets in space, and he owns the Washington Post. He doesn't seem like someone who's going to fight billionaire tyranny. Instead, he's going to do what most people do when evil's on the march. Nothing.
Pat, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
We're talking about these massive entrepreneurs that have built billion-dollar plus companies.
Correct.
Okay? Built on the basic premise of free market capitalism, entrepreneurship, building these types of companies. How does someone like that, who's built something that understands what it means to create jobs and build companies, how do they go so far left to this Marxist ideology? You called it egalitarianism. You interviewed the one guy that wanted to bump up everybody's pay in the company to $70,000. It was sort of contentious. How do you
Dan Price.
Yeah, Dan Price, exactly. How do you go from building such a massive company, built on the principles of what America's founded on capitalism, free enterprise, the free market, and then go so far left? How does that happen?
Well, I mean, I'm really trying to process this. It's either second generation money, so meaning you didn't earn it, because if you earned it, it's a different mindset. But many of these guys earned it. Okay,
That's
Jobs' wife got it. Okay, Melinda Gates, fine.
Mackenzie Bezos.
Bezos, totally get it. Those three, totally get it. You didn't do, like in our community, I'll walk by and, I'll see some of the people that, or maybe they married, they're the second or third wife of a guy after he made them money, and then the first wife's no longer in the picture. Well, the first wife was probably, but then he goes, well, you see when they talk to them, they just look down at you sometimes. I'm like, okay, very weird. And some are very friendly, right? You process both of these and how it is. And then you go and you ask another question, and you say, okay, so maybe someone's got something on these guys. Maybe they're scared of somebody. Maybe they're frightened of somebody. Maybe somebody even more powerful than them has got, them under control for whatever reason. But the more and more and more you go deeper, you're like, dude, this is going to eventually end up hurting you. Like, in what way do you think this is going to favor you? Like, actually, what do you think is going to happen? I understand somebody, like, for example, proxy wars. Okay, I understand a proxy war. Why do I understand a proxy war? To me, you know what a proxy war is? Oh, Adam, you won't believe what Vinny said to you. Vinny, you won't believe what Adam said to you. And I'll watch you guys fight. Okay, that's a proxy war, right? That's instigating.
Yeah, shut up, Adam.
That's instigating to see that. So maybe you do that to create division in the enemy's house. Okay, deceptive? Yes. Dark? For sure. Sun Tzu? Yeah, totally is. But you know what? I get it, because at least it's what? Someone else's house.
Yeah.
But imagine you pin your own kids against each other, and you intentionally, get the front security. Let's just say you live in a gated community, to get him to get fired, and you replace him with sloppy people that are 82-year-old security. You know how you go to a hotel, they got these 82-year-old security people they hire, and you're like, who's this guy going to stop, right? This guy's going to stop anybody? No. Then you allow people to come into your community for what? For them to invade your house and hurt your own kid? That's the part where there's a disconnect that doesn't make sense to me.
So some of them are insulated. I mean, they have priced out the real estate market in their home of Sun Valley, Aspen, Kennebunkport. They are legitimately isolated from any of the consequences of their political decisions, right? I mean, if you go to Aspen, you would think that like we have solved every problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to Aspen in July, right? Everyone is like fit and trim. There's not like a BMI over like 35, right?
I was literally there in July.
Am I right?
This is freaking paradise.
No, all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
why can't we have world peace?
Yeah,
and
of
is there a problem?
Yeah.
You know what? No, it's almost like you just like all of a sudden like get
When you're
like
completely isolated and
Totally.
you're not around any of this.
Well, not
these
only that,
issues.
when you are surrounded by very successful, good-looking, attractive, high IQ people, that's not number one, Patrick. So they are not in Compton. They are not in, a neighborhood that is going to be overrun. They're not in the Rio Grande Valley. They're not in, Kerrville, Texas, that's going to be overrun. But there's another part to this, though. And some of the billionaires look at themselves. There's two categories that I want to mention that we haven't. They look at themselves as masters of the universe. And these are usually tech people. This is Larry Page. This is Sergey Brin. This is Mark Zuckerberg.
I get those guys.
Okay? For them, they really think they can reconfigure society through AI, technocracy, almost like a highly sophisticated oligarchy, because they think that the problem is that we haven't had smart enough people in charge. Almost rule by committee, and I want to be in charge of that committee, okay?
Yeah.
But the second part, Patrick, is that some of these guys will do whatever it takes so that they are favored by the Politburo. They'll give any amount of money. They really don't have any ideological spin either way. They just want to be on the winning team. If the right wing was ascendant in the country, some of these guys would be giving money to like pro-life clinics and churches. Some of these guys just go with the wind. They want to be protected by the regime. They don't really believe anything.
Dude, let me tell you, man. I mean, okay, let's play the dark game.
Oh,
let's go dark.
They're there.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm on a flight yesterday. And my pilot is the pilot I like. You actually have met this pilot.
Met him. The Israeli guy? I love that.
He's the pilot.
Yeah.
So I see him. I say, how you doing? Not good. I said, okay. I said, what do you think about what's going on? Last time he was with us when we went to Milwaukee.
Yeah,
You know,
I like him.
Yeah. So how you doing? Obviously not good. Family, how's family? Not good. Family in Israel. How about this? How about that? How about this? Anyways, I can't tell you everything we talked about because I found out who he is and what he did, his job in Israel.
Oh,
very
wow.
interesting. Very serious guy. He says to me, you know what, though? The Israelis community right now is very happy with Joe Biden. I said, really? Tell me why. He says, because he's got our back and he's shown so many great things he's doing. You know, Blinken is going there and he went and shook hands with Netanyahu and, you know, they're showing support and they're with us and they're saying pro-Israel and they're saying this. And even Jean-Pierre, you know, came out and said a couple words.
The squad. She went after the squad.
That's right, which is kind of weird, right?
Crazy.
So, okay, so you're sitting there, you're like, you know, maybe the center people are like, okay, these guys sound normal, right? Okay, so let's play dark. Did you need something like this for you to create a war to the point where the re-election percentage of a president goes so high when there's a war so you can get re-elected? Maybe. Is it because the amount of chaos you learned in 2020 the elections was so chaotic, so it increases the chance of you being able to win another election because the more chaotic it was, you can tell people what we're going to be doing and they're already accustomed to it. Maybe they'll be more open-minded to it. Maybe. Is it because maybe even on the other side for me that I think about Netanyahu and Israel, first of all, who has the best secret intelligence in the world?
Mossad.
You mean to tell me?
No.
You mean to tell me these guys have been that low-key underground for a year,
Nope.
built a city like the one in Israel, and they trained their guys to go in and how to break into homes and how to take people hostage, and you're telling me you didn't know? Seriously? And Egypt comes out. By the way, the story came out. It's like, well, you know, we told them, we warned them that something was taking place. Another story came out about Egypt. Rob, if you tell me what page it's on.
Then they said they didn't. They're going back and forth.
Yeah, and then they're saying
Now
they
they're
didn't. You're like,
scared.
so make up your mind. Did you know or did you not know? So what is really going on? So then I go a layer deeper, and I'll turn it over to you. Is, okay, did Israel almost, you know, because I'm talking to this other guy, and he says, I said, you realize what happened in 2014? He says, yeah. I said, 2014 when they, you know, the three girls were kidnapped, and then, you know, whatever happened, raped, travesty.
Horrible.
And then Israel comes back and kills 2,000 people. He said, it should have been 20,000. It should have been 200,000. So I said, where are you going with this? He says, well, listen, here's what I'd like to see happen in Israel. What's that? Only Jews live in Israel. Nobody else. We don't need to coexist. It's just not going to work out. Is this a way for Netanyahu's legacy to be he eliminated Hamas? Is this his way for saying, now I got the war, I got the card, I got the, you know,
Mandate.
get out of jail card for me to go straight up 100,000 on the blockade of Gaza Strip, 300,000 reservists you put up there. Now we're going to go groundwork. We're going all freaking out because the world gave us the permission to do so. Is that what it is? I don't know. I just keep continuing to have a lot of questions the more I think about it because so these guys are coming up. So what, are we going to have another 9/11? And they're going to come and do what? They're going to go into your community. What are they going to target next? Where are they going to go next? What's going to happen next? Oh, can we? It's not a big deal. It's never happen again. Well, that's what we thought it was never going to happen, 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, nobody thought 9/11 was going to happen.
Yep.
So I just have way too many questions that makes me think about what the motives are. And if we go dark, I'll put all those things out there.
Yeah.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools and by reports, 6 hours. Let's say it's 3 hours.
That's suspect. Go ahead, Rob.
It's also not like a right-wing reporting. This is from the New York Times. The long wait for help as massacre unfolds in Israel.
9
I can't think of a
hours.
more liberal news outlet than the New York Times.
And by the way, I'm actually very pro-Israel. So let me be very, so I'm not exactly.
Well, I think we all are.
No, I just want to make sure my position is clear here. But so Patrick, there are other explanations. It's possible that the Netanyahu government was double-crossed by bad agents. Okay? That's dark, but it's not as dark as what we're talking about. Okay? Another aspect is that Netanyahu might have traitors in his government, like legitimate traitors that have infiltrated. I was texting with some senior people in the IDF, and they said, Charlie, can't say too much, but let's just say the same problem you have with the left in America, we have here in Israel. So there's something to think about. Just something to think about, right? Is that maybe there's some people within those intel agencies that aren't as sympathetic. Or maybe, Patrick, maybe they might have gotten a tip, they might have gotten whispers, but no one thought it would be 1,200 Jews dead. That's a potential, right? Because here's the essence of it. The essence is this. This is the closest thing to the Holocaust that any of us have lived through. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.
Yeah, this one's very weird.
Can I comment on the when you use the term ethnic cleansing, that will make the hairs on the back.
I'm not
of your
accusing them of that.
I'm not. I'm just saying that term. I actually did some research specifically on that because that is a very slippery slope. And if you actually want to talk about what Jews and even Christians should be most fearful of, Muslims as well, is the concept of ethnic cleansing.
So I just want to be very sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I'm saying that's what they're going to be accused of.
Correct.
But if there are some people in public life in Israel that, Patrick, what did your pilot guy say? I want only Jews in Israel, right? Okay, that is a form of ethnically cleansing because 20% of Israel is Arab. Muslim.
Correct.
20%.
And people don't know that. And I've been to Israel several times. I was there a few months ago, and I saw the protests.
Yes.
If you don't have to be expert at Israeli politics to understand the divisiveness of politics, especially in America. We understand like Republicans, Democrats, blacks, white, whatever it is. Similar in Israel, there's the liberal faction, mostly based in Tel Aviv, and more the conservative faction in Jerusalem and throughout the country. And obviously, the more orthodox you are, the more you're inclined to be more right-wing thinking. But I think civil war is a little premature, but there is major contention going on there.
The country was at a fissure point. Yeah. Right? It was splitting.
No doubt. Just like there was calls for potential civil war here. I sort of think that's a little aggressive.
But you would agree it was hot. The country was hot.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Just like the BLM riots here.
Yeah, it was not a time for unity in Israel.
The thing that I think just to think about when you talk about, I'm not saying you're accusing anything, you just use the term. So the concept of ethnic cleansing is the biggest fear of the Jewish people. Okay? It's the whole reason that Israel was founded, because of the ethnic cleansing that occurred throughout Europe for millennia, right? Obviously culminating with World War II. But there's no doubt that Hamas, that Israel could wipe out Gaza at any given point. But they do not want to participate in ethnic cleansing. Now, they would love to annihilate the terrorists. But if you actually talk about what's going around the world today, and this is what Israel needs to kind of take note of.
That's what I was talking about, Patrick. I'm sorry to interrupt.
This is a protest.
In the summer, this every day, there were people in the streets.
Yes,
I saw this.
July of 2023.
The country was separating.
This is such a hotbed issue right now. But if you talk about ethnic cleansing, look at what's going on in Azerbaijan and Armenia.
No,
Pat, something that
110,000 Armenian Christians.
Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
We've seen over the last couple decades, what happened in Bosnia. They were Bosnian Christians were killing Muslims. We've seen what's going on in Myanmar. Nobody talks about that. Okay. Christians are actually, there's an article right here from the Cato Institute. Who are the most persecuted people in the world? Well, it's actually Christians. You've probably done your research on this.
I talk about it all the time.
You go to Afghanistan, you go to Iraq, you go to Iran, you go to China, you go to Nigeria. They're killing Christians. Here it is right here from the Cato Institute.
That's right.
Okay, so the whole concept of ethnic cleansing, I think temperatures need to go down because it's not egalitarian. People are killing people for multiple reasons.
And here's Israel's difficulty, is that Hamas, they build their headquarters under hospitals.
Correct.
They use humans as human shields.
Yeah.
And so civilians are going to die, and that is a tragedy. And Hamas brought this upon themselves. My wish, my plead to Israel is be precise, be focused in your retaliation. You have a moral right to go and seek the blood of the people that did this. Mm-hmm. What I think would be bad for Israel, and I have a heart for Israel. I can't tell you what it did. It made me a stronger Christian in a way I can't even tell you, right? Be able to see where our Lord rose from the dead. My heart for Israel is that they don't overreact. And Patrick, you hear what I'm saying here, right?
Fully, that's my concern, because if they do, again, if they do overreact, I'm more coming from a place of thinking this was intentional. If they don't overreact, then this wasn't intentional. Meaning, if all of a sudden you see an all-out annihilation.
What do you mean by intentional? That they knew it was going to happen?
That no, when you're asking about the stand down 6 hours and 3 hours, then why did you? What intel are you getting? So we're on the same page.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
No,
all I'm saying
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
If there is a major attack, it was intentional. If there's a major attack. And by the way, the number in the last however many years, the biggest number they have is 2,000, right? The Palestinians that died. That's the biggest number they've had. And in Gaza, if you look at the Gaza Strip if you can pull up the map so you can kind of show Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and where Hezbollah's coming from Lebanon. Yeah, but in West Bank, it's a different story, because in West Bank, at least 42% of Palestinians there support Hamas, but in Gaza it's 58%.
And
so
Hamas really isn't in those regions.
Yeah, it really is not in those regions. So this is Gaza Strip, all the way to the left.
Can I emphasize though?
Sure, go for it.
Look at the cameras, the radars. Patrick, not only did they go in,
That's what I'm saying.
No, but hear me out here. Not only did they go into Israel, they got out of Israel with hostages.
Yeah, 100 hostages.
So you would think, let me just hear me out. There's a penetration of your border wall, okay? That you guard on a holy day, the 50-year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. And you would think, hey, they're going to come back. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Let's mobilize some forces. And it is not quite, but it is close to the North Korean demilitarized.
What's weird about what you're saying that gets even more credibility is you're a pro-Israel guy.
No, that I want to be very clear.
No, fully, I know that. So I want to make sure the audience knows this. So for you to question that and for me to question, I'm like, sitting here saying, how did you not know this was taking place? But again, going back to it, so let's go to a different angle here. Okay, so many times when crisis happens, we sit around, oh my gosh, we immediately go to World War III. Like we have a yearning for
Armageddon.
There's almost a little bit of a yearning people have for, oh my God, what would a civil war really look like, bro? That's like crazy. I get to take a month off from work.
Scary,
instead and play cards all day.
I have all these guns. I want to use them.
These are people that have never gone to a country that's been at war.
Or never experienced war.
No, it's the worst thing human beings.
Dude, trust me. Like I posted a picture the other day. My sister texted me, Paulette. I'm like, how I always talk about putting the, tapes on the windows?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that picture.
Yeah.
It's like, That picture was, Paulette's like, look at this picture. What do you see unique in this picture? I said, oh, it's pretty cool. It's you and I when we were kids. She says, no. Look at the glass. I'm like, oh, shit.
Just in case they get...
This is the tapes. This is me in Iran with my sister when we would get bombed. One day we got bombed 167 times, okay? My dad would put tapes so the window wouldn't explode on our faces because that's our bedroom. Like I'm on this side.
Jeez, man.
And then the other side is our rooms. And he's like, hey, if something happens, so you look at these stories. You're like, yeah, I mean, kids are going through it, but go a little bit deeper with this. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go next step here with this. Okay, what is truly the worst case that's going to happen? We have a fascination and an obsession with market crash, collapse, war, civil war. This is the last election. This is the most important election of all time. I'm telling you, or else we're going to lose America, right? Of course, all of these things is a way of controlling fear, urgency. I get it. There's a certain element of, motives behind it that's effective. But how ugly do you think this actually can get? Like the domino effect. If this happens, these guys react. Then if these guys react, these guys have to react.
That meme where it like all starts with, a mean tweet and it ends in nuclear war.
Yeah.
You ever see that meme?
Yeah.
Domino effect.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know which one I'm talking about. Sorry, sorry to interrupt. But yeah.
So how ugly can this get?
Look here. So let me also make sure I criticize both sides. Okay. So I'm going to criticize the people that do the paragliding, and it's sick. Lindsey Graham is an irresponsible lawmaker. For what he's saying, bombing Iranian oil depots, this thing could get wildly out of control very, very quickly. The last thing America needs is a kinetic war against Iran, an 87 million person country that has a pretty fierce fighting spirit, a country that's 5 times the size of Iraq, 5 times the size of Iraq. We're going to go start bombing oil depots? Yeah, that could get Russia further involved, China involved. Yeah, look, the quote-unquote Armageddon situation is that for Israel, the Armageddon situation is that they overreact so much that they lose their Arab neutrality. Right now, they have neutrality with Egypt. If they overreact, they could lose that. They have warm conversations. I won't say a peace deal yet with Saudi Arabia. They could lose that. Jordan plays ball because America demands they play ball. They could lose that. Syria, Bashar al-Assad, he acts as if it doesn't exist, but that could change in a moment's notice, right? Lebanon via Hezbollah is already there. They could be all of a sudden dealing with a 15-country invasion of Israel.
Can they handle that?
They have in the past. I mean, the 6-Day War, the Yom Kippur War. The Yom Kippur War, for example, they were invaded from every direction. At the Balfour Declaration, when they became a country in 1948, every Arab country declared war on them. Yeah. And they almost lost the country. And to their credit, they held it off and they earned the right to be Israel. But I don't know what that looks like. No one does. And you're talking about countries that have some form of nuclear weaponry as well. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a total nuclear developed bomb, but they have some sophistication, far more than Iran. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm not an alarmist, but if we take the path of Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham, like we're dramatically increasing the chances of a world war.
Can we stay right there on the Iran situation? Obviously, this is very close to home.
Lunatic wants World War III.
It's a PBD.
He's a lunatic.
That picture, I think, says 1,000 words. The tape on the windows, you're used to this. When you've seen bombings like this, when you've seen death like this, you wish this upon nobody. But the biggest question is, we're so focused on what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, granted. Obviously, the big picture, I think we can all agree, is what's going on with China, right? That's the big picture here. But, in this region, the tip of the spear with all these issues is Iran. So as much as Lindsey Graham sounds...
like a lunatic?
Like a wild man, warmongering, wild man, John Bolton-esque type person.
They're the same person.
He is at least bringing up the fact that Iran needs to be dealt with. At the heels of all this, what's going on, and you bring up So
that's important.
The next 5 moves of Israel is they're at the final innings of this deal with Saudi Arabia. Obviously, Saudi Arabia and Iran are enemies, Shia, Sunni.
It's irreconcilable.
Right. So what must be done with Iran at this point?
Well,
because to be clear, they're the ones that fund Hamas. They're the ones that fund Hezbollah. They're the greatest exporter of terrorism around the world.
True. They're chanting death to America.
Death to America after we give them $6 billion.
Yeah.
What do we do there?
The first thing is we must remember that we, the American government, are the reason why Iran is radical. We did this. They had a democratically elected leader that we did not like. I believe his name was Mossadegh.
Mossad.
Yeah, right?
Mossadegh.
Yeah, Mossadegh. Thank you. And we didn't like him. because he wanted to nationalize the oil. Specifically, the Brits didn't like it.
50s. This is
what year was this, PBD? Okay, gotcha. This is before the Shah.
Yes, he was very popular.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And look right there. Even in Wikipedia, 1953 Iranian coup d'etat aided by intelligence agencies of the UK and United States.
Weird.
Got it.
Okay? So then we put the Shah back in, if my memory serves me correctly, who was sick and unpopular, meaning he was actually suffering. Physically sick. And we paved the way for the most radical elements of Islam from a country that, Patrick, you know it better than I do. The Persian people are the most entrepreneurial. They're some of the smartest people that have really been living under radical Islamic captivity for many decades. Why am I bringing this up? Sometimes your intervention can make things far, far worse. Sometimes intervention is moral and necessary. Our intervention in World War II in Europe was moral and necessary. So what to do? Well, I think Joe Biden should definitely not give them $6 billion. I think that's a good start. I think that sanctions is probably appropriate. But I also think that we have to be really clear that Iran is an enemy of the United States, but it pales in comparison to the immediate and the pernicious and the existential threat that the Chinese Communist Party poses to America. And I don't want to see us get into the Lindsey Graham dream world that Iran is somehow murdering Americans. They are financing terror. They're chanting death to America. But China right now is actively creating fentanyl that comes into our country that kills over 100,000 people. Not everyone for fentanyl, but drug overdoses.
Majority, yeah.
Yes, over a majority of the 100,000 is fentanyl. What I'm getting at is I, as a millennial turning 30, know nothing but Middle Eastern no-win war quagmires, right?
Yep.
And I am cynical. And I think it's my moral responsibility and my public role as a commentator to slow down the chatter anytime we're talking about accelerating us closer to another conflict in the Middle East. Because we did it in Iraq. I think it was a mistake. We spent trillions of dollars and we lost precious American lives, led to ISIS. And you want the thought crime? Honestly, Saddam Hussein kept a lot of the terrorists in check.
Yep.
They were scared of him.
He was a bad guy, but he wasn't the worst guy. And I think the same thing in Afghanistan. So what do? I think first we have to calm down the neoconservatives that are bloodthirsty and want war more than they want what's best for America.
Yeah, you know what is this is actually. I think it's going to be a filter. And by the way, I don't know if this video is recent or we shared it the other day, or it's right after they killed Qassem Soleimani. I don't know exactly the date of this video, so just kind of verify when this video was. What does it say right there? This video was from 3 years ago. Okay, yeah, this is when we killed Qassem Soleimani.
Their opinions,
but the attitude hasn't changed.
No,
right?
not at all.
It's not like their opinions have changed dramatically.
On the Shah thing you talk about with Mossadegh was a guy that came in who was the modern day Bernie Sanders.
Who wanted to nationalize everything.
He wanted to nationalize everything. He wanted to, nationalize everything, and then the Shah comes in. The Shah comes back, modernizes the whole thing. Education improves. Women finally have no longer, age of marriage for girls are no longer 8 years old or 13 years old. He raised it to, I think, whatever it was, 15 years old. And then women can actually go become lawyers and go to school. Education for women changed. Then what happened in the Middle East when Iran was ran by him, Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, is conflict in the Middle East was less, okay? Because now it was Iran who had a good relationship with U.S. for the most part, except when there was Democratic presidents, there was issues. But for the most part, they had a good relation with U.S. And he had his 25-year contract. He wrote if you can go to 1954 Iran oil deal, it was in 1954. The deal was coming up till 1979. That's what it is.
Or something?
So it's called the Consortium Agreement of 1954. This was a deal they did.
Yeah, British Petroleum.
Yeah,
right.
This was a deal they did. That was a 25-year deal. This is what's so interesting about it. Watch this. 1950 or so, provided Western oil companies with 50% ownership of Iranian oil production after its ratification in 1954, expiring what year? 1979. So the PM, I think the leaders of UK, US, I want to say France and one other country met in South or Central America to talk about how to prevent this 25-year contract from coming up, because the Shah was going to go away from the 50% deal.
That's right.
And he was going to rule the world. He was going to become so powerful. 1979 is when it expires. Guess when the Shah expired? Right, 1979. Maybe a little bit of a strange timing on what they did with this year. And then comes Khomeini, comes Hezbollah, comes the 3,000 political prisoners, because Jimmy Carter's talking about human rights. They're freed. A lot of them ended up becoming the ISIS. Hezbollah's, the Two-Day Party, the communists who ended up doing 9/11. So, and Carter was pushing this with them. The similar thing that he did with Cuba as well. It was like, hey, you need to free. It's not fair for what you're doing with your people, human rights. He says, no problem. Here's 125,000 people I'm releasing from Cuba to U.S. And who did he release? Political.
All those guys.
I'm just a political refugee. I'm a political prisoner, right? Is what I am.
Scarface.
And boom,
From
unemployment.
Cuba.
Unemployment in Miami goes up to 50%. But I understand what you're saying with the Iran situation and what's going to happen there. So let me bring you back to a different thing. If you got one last thought about this, I want to transition.
I don't want to just. The Iran thing is so fascinating to me because I think they are the tip of the spear of what's going on in the Middle East. And then who are they funded by? China. What was the amount of money that they gave them? $400 billion?
$450 million.
So here's my question to you.
$400 billion in 25 years.
Okay. Just to kind of emphasize this. If you're a consultant or the national security advisor to whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whoever it is, you, PBD, how do you deal with Iran? Do you pull out of the nuclear deal entirely like Trump did? Do you get back into the nuclear deal? Do you give them any money whatsoever, the $6 billion for the hostages? How do you deal with Iran?
What do you do?
Yeah, I think Trump had it right, which, remember, there was clamoring for Trump to go to war against Iran and strike, and he resisted that. At the same time, he was tough and very firm, where he canceled the Iran deal, went after Soleimani. But you have to have your priorities right. What is best for America? Right? War with Iran is not what is best for America. There's some other facts about Iran that are important, though. I think the Iran situation solves itself over a period of time. I believe 50% of their population is under the age of 35. We can fact check it. They have one of the youngest populations on the planet, and we could fact check it. It might not be that extreme. But you have a very, very radical government. The people of Iran are incredibly talented. They're entrepreneurial. They're industrious. And I'm actually more bullish on the future of Iran if you can liberate them from the captivity that they're under.
You do that is my point.
We
saw what happened last year with the girls.
That's what's one of the youngest populations.
We saw what happened when a girl took off her job. She was killed, beaten. The women have no rights there.
The answer is it shouldn't be a top priority of the American government because we have so many problems here to execute a CIA coup d'etat in another country. You have to put sanctions on. You have to put them in check. You have to try to, in my personal opinion, allow Israel to seek justice. At the same time, you cannot allow this to turn into a regional, broader war. You know why? Because the adult America is going to have to come clean it up. That's why. If we just kind of say, oh, it doesn't, this thing turns into a regional conflict, we're going to have more troops on the ground, and we're going to have to go clean up this mess, as Trump calls it, in the region of sand and death, while our own country is disintegrating and collapsing. But look, there's a lot of other technical things you could do to Iran, right? You can prevent them access to European markets, which Joe Biden hasn't done, right? They go and shop in Paris and London all the time. You cut that crap off, right? Just like lifestyle stuff that you could easily do. You cut off student visas, right, from certain Iranian expats. You can put extra sanctions on. There's a lot of other tools you can do. And the number one thing you can do is you drill, baby, drill here domestically, and you weaken Iran's energy hegemony. Basically, if you increase the oil supply, which Donald Trump had us energy independent and exporting more oil than we were importing, you significantly weaken Iran. And you weaken Russia, too, if you care about that, right? The more you explore for oil in the American homeland, the weaker these governments that are reliant on the petrodollar become.
What would you add to that, PBD?
I think he said everything and more than what I would have said. Look, here's interesting. I'll transition and kind of make sense to what you want to say. De Niro yesterday came out and ripped Donald Trump again.
Oh, God.
And he says Trump is evil. He wrote out a whole thing in a speech, want to be tough guy with no morals or ethics. Let me just read this to you, and then I'll give you my thoughts on this. So De Niro, keep going a little lower. The entire speech is at the bottom. Go lower, 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 lower. You'll see it when it's there.
I feel like
right
I
there.
read this article 3 years ago.
I know.
He does this every 6 months.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, okay? I'm sorry. I couldn't be with you today. A few days ago, I came down with a heavy cold. Okay, great. I'm with you in spirit. I'm watching. It's okay. Go on. I've spent a lot of time studying bad men. I've examined their characteristics, their mannerisms, the utter banality of their cruelty. Yet there's something different about Donald Trump. When I look at him, I don't see a bad man. Truly, I see an evil one. Over the years, I've met many gangsters here and there. This guy tries to be one, but he can't quite pull it off. There's such a thing as honor among thieves. Yet even criminals usually have a sense of right and wrong. Whether they do the right thing or not is a different story, but they have a moral code, however warped. Trump does not. He's a wannabe tough guy with no morals or ethics, no sense of right or wrong, no regard for anyone but himself. Not the people he's supposed to lead or protect, not the people he does business with, not the people who follow him, blindly and loyally, not even the people who consider themselves his friends. He has contempt for all of them. We New Yorkers got to know him over the years, that he was poisoned the atmosphere, literal ego. We knew firsthand who he was. We tried to warn you in 2016, the repercussions, $1 trillion in 2020. Okay, the man who was supposed to protect this country, put in peril, but of his recklessness, impulsion, was an act of abuse. Okay,
how much
make
time
no
does he
mistake
have?
about it. The twice impeached, four-time indicted Trump is still a fool, but we can't let our fellow Americans write him off. Evil thrives in the shadow of dismissive mockery, which is why we must take the danger of Donald Trump seriously. So today we issue another warning. Okay, fantastic.
Jesus.
From this place where Abraham Lincoln spoke, right there in beating heart of New York, to the rest of America, this is our last chance. Democracy won't survive the return of a wannabe dictator, and it won't become over. Anyways, he keeps going. This is like ChatGPT.
How many pages is this?
But this is the point I want to make to what he says. Okay, great, got it. You said this a few years
ago.
ago.
Atlas Shrugged that just keeps going.
You know what he made me think about? This is what he made me think about. That Trump is a gangster. Okay, no problem. Who the hell chooses to become a president? One of two people, okay? Either somebody who is a gangster or somebody who's controlled by gangsters that don't have a face to them. Which one would you rather have? So is Biden a gangster? No, he's just a face. Gangsters are controlling what he does. He's a face. Is Trump a gangster? He's a gangster.
Yep.
Is Reagan a gangster? He's a gangster. Is Kennedy a gangster? He's a gangster. Is Obama a gangster? He's not a gangster. He's controlled by other people. We can keep going on and on about all these gangsters. Okay, no problem. So I've actually spent time with gangsters, and like real gangsters.
Couple of
like any one of them that's living, I pretty much have them on the podcast, and we've spent time with them. Okay, we've had conversations on camera, off camera. And here's what I will say about the history of the mob. Whenever the boss was feared, people weren't going killing each other. It's just how it was in New York. Whenever the boss was weak, guess what people were doing? Going whacking each other. Why? Because the boss was not somebody that you feared at that level where he's going to come back and do anything to you. Okay, it was like, don't do it again, Adam. That's not cool, right? Versus, hey, you take the other made man out, or you put your hand on another. Here's what's going to happen to you, right? There was a certain element of fear. There's three things that a great leader has to have. Fear, you have to be feared. Now, especially when you're running the most powerful country in the world, that's the hated and the loved and the admired, all three. You got to be feared, you got to be respected, and if desert, the last one is desert. If you can be liked, even better. Reagan was liked, Trump's not liked, okay? Let's just say among some of these other guys. Fear, respect is necessary. Trump was feared, and he was respected, and he walked around, love him or hate him. We didn't have wars. So going back to what you're asking about Iran, what he would do, here's what he would be doing. There's no 6-hour stand down or 3-hour stand down. Here's what we're doing. He's doing a, what do you call it, a press conference going out. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to. Remember that one time when he says, Abu Bakr, what was his name? Baghdadi. He cried like, you know what he said to it. And you're like, who uses these words, right? He was begging. It was such a, can you pull up this video clip if you have it? So obviously, it's almost like out of a movie. One day our kids are going to watch this movie about Trump and they're going to say, he would never say such a thing. No, son, go watch the real clip. He actually said that a president would never say something like that. But you know what? He did. So to me, this is the element where I have a hard time sitting here saying, yeah, none of this stuff is on Biden and U.S. I'm sorry. Nobody fears or respects or likes Biden. So guess what? All the gangsters out there are saying, dude, go and get everything you want. You know, hey, California, they say what? You can go rob CVS or whatever, all these stores. And say,
1,500
go for it, man. Go, guys, go. We don't care. We're okay with it. Newsom's more worried about Skittles than fentanyl the other day. You know, this guy's spending more time talking about Skittles. Go for it. So if Biden is a governor of the world, let's just say he's the president now, the free world, everybody else is saying, if there's ever been time to go rob and take whatever you want, right now's the time to do, because we have no clue who the hell is coming next. So yeah, De Niro, as much as I love you, your movies, your work, you're an incredible actor. Dude, you are so, at this point, off base. It's not even funny how much anger and hate you have towards this guy. And I would love to see you actually sell, rather than bashing Trump, Why don't you flip it on us, De Niro, and sell us Biden? Go ahead. Sell it to us. Write the same kind of a novel you just wrote, but sell Biden. Sell us how amazing the economy is. Sell us how peaceful the world is right now. Sell us how everybody is so comfortable with their jobs, their houses, their mortgage rates. Just sell us all of that stuff, how phenomenal he's doing. You can trash Trump all you want. He ain't the president. Biden's your president. What has Biden done? Why don't you do it? I'd love to see De Niro sell Biden. I don't know if he can do it. Maybe that's why he doesn't do it. It's easier to trash Trump than to go after selling us how incredible of a job Biden's done. Numbers came out the other day. I think it's the lowest
approval rating
that just came out about Biden.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts when you hear De Niro and some of these guys giving us a lecture here on who Trump is?
Well, first of all, you're Machiavelli. So one of the most important books ever written, really started the Enlightenment, is The Prince by Machiavelli. And we use Machiavelli as a pejorative, right? Oh, Machiavellian. We don't quite understand the brilliance or the insight of Machiavelli. Machiavelli was actually applying for a job. That's what The Prince was to the Medici family. He wrote a series of letters, and he was like, hey, hire me as your political consultant, basically, your political advisor. And what Machiavelli really wrote is, yes, I mean, there's a couple things. Ends justify the means, but that's such a small portion. It really is the most complete to date comprehensive picture of how to rule justly, how to establish order, and how to have different tribes and factions and sects be able to understand hierarchy, have you be respected, use fear as a weapon, as a tool. And he did it in such a profound way that, I mean, this guy knew his classics. He knew his Aristotle, knew his Aquinas and Augustine. Anyway, I happened to study The Prince over the summer, and it will blow your mind. And you know what? The more you read it, the more you realize how much the left plays by the rules of Machiavelli. Wow. If the right played by the rules of Machiavelli as much as the left, we would win. And I don't just mean the ends justify the means. I mean how to use political power. How to use political power. And you use that term gangster, whoo, I got to tell you, Machiavelli laid out that kind of playbook. Trump, I don't know if he's ever read The Prince or not, maybe back in college or whatever, but
probably didn't.
But he plays that out. Niccolò Machiavelli. He started the Enlightenment. So he was the first guy to ever say, wait, hold on, we have all these old books and all these old writings. Why don't we just cast that aside and get what we want? And that was...
By the way, Medici family, one of the only families that kept their wealth for 5, 6, 7 generations.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Vanderbilt couldn't do it. You know, some of these other families couldn't do it. Medici's been going for quite a long time.
Florence.
Which video is this? This is...
he cried like a baby.
Oh, I love this.
Okay, go ahead and play this.
I use this to go to sleep at night.
I don't know if this is the right one, actually.
Is this it?
I don't know.
The leader of the Taliban. You would obliterate him if he dared not to follow every dotted I, cross T, comma,
Boss.
period.
Abdul, I did. Had a conversation, had a number of conversations.
Didn't you at one point tell him, I know exactly where you are, and give him the exact coordinates where he was?
I sent him a picture of his house. He said, but why do you send me a picture?
Why is the music so loud?
I figured that one out.
You told the
What
leader
a
of the
gangster.
I send a picture of his house.
It's very Machiavellian.
And then think about this, though, Charlie.
Yeah.
This is the amount of hate that they had for this one guy. Remember when he did kill Soleimani? You know what CNN was calling Soleimani? He's a freedom fight. Like they were almost feeling bad, and Pelosi and all them went after him for killing a terrorist. That's how much Trump derangement syndrome. It's embedded in people like that. It's embedded in people like Steve Schmidt, and it's past Trump. It's what they stand for.
Yes.
Is enough is enough. That strength that. Strength through peace, that's how we have to roll, Charlie. Like, nobody respects us. Peace to strength. Everything is going to shit, and everything. I am tired of this. Everybody, we're tippy-toeing. It's time that we start saying, "We told you so. We told you so about COVID. We told you so about the border. We told you that BLM was a scam, that they were trying to screw all of us over." How many times are we going to go no and brush it away? We told you. We tried to wake your asses up, and now you got him writing a soliloquy. Nobody gives a shit about De Niro anymore. But go make a movie. We don't have time to read that. He's just sitting around Pat in New York just hating Trump. We have more shit to worry about than somebody worried about Trump, bro. Like it just drives me nuts.
When I hear De Niro, it's personal.
It's personal.
Trump got together with a girl. He was something. It's got to be something. You cannot. There's something that is so personal
he hates
for him to have that kind of hate towards Trump.
I think you, because you have spent so much time with the gangsters and Michael and Sammy and a lot of our friends, you bring up a great point, PBD, and to any of my leftist or people on the liberal friends, I totally understand why it would be very easy to not like Trump at face value. I get it. But the whole, do you want a strong leader running the mob, the country, what have you? Or do you want a weak leader that nobody respects? And that's where you start to see some of the horribleness that happens over there. And to your point, who are the gangsters that are funding Biden or whoever the non-gangster president is? That's a very important point. I just don't want to just kind of gloss over that. It is something that is, when you peel back the layers of who's funding Biden, who's putting these things together, I totally understand why that makes a lot of sense. By the way,
you know this next debate that's coming up, the Republican debate, November, right? It's going to be Miami, the one that's going to be here. Yep. You're going to be able to filter out all the candidates very quickly.
Very true.
I think it's going to be like a pure filtering system. What did he just say? Wait, what did she just say? Are you serious about? Okay, that one's gone. This one's gone. I know exactly where he's at. I know exactly where he's at. And I know exactly where she's at. Okay, cool. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is going to be the fastest filtering system. Not that they're going to be doing anything with presidency. I'm not even talking about presidency. But for you to know, like, administration, job, future, who's
Israel, Palestine, because you know Nikki Haley's going to be up there right off the rip talking about bomb Iran.
Why do you say that this one's going to be more of a filtering one? Because nothing happened in California. It was a shit show.
Dude,
why Miami, though?
Because now you have, like... When's the last time something like this happened in Israel? 50 years ago? I mean, this is like the biggest catastrophic event they've had since the Holocaust.
That's
right. Some are saying, okay,
most Jews dead.
This is not like, people are worried about Jews, in a sense of, how big the population is. It's 15 million people. You're not talking about 300 million Jews worldwide. You're not talking about 700 million Jews worldwide.
Half the world's Jewry.
Yeah, you're not talking, you're not talking about a big number. Don't get me wrong. The criticism and look at the power they have, the influence they have, the Hollywood and all this stuff, fair. We can have that conversation, no problem. But they're going to have to make their case and the argument, and I'm so curious now how they're going to make the case. Obviously, Vivek was on Tucker this last week, and Tucker said, Nikki Haley sounds like a child, right? And then Vivek tried to give her, protect her a little bit and say, I don't know about child, but I don't agree with what, he's got to say, what she's got to say. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a great filtering system. And by the way, let me transition to a complete different story. Have you followed what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and Kelsey and the Pfizer thing where ESPN is shitting bricks saying, what the hell is going on? Let me read this story to you. ESPN under fire after Aaron Rodgers challenges Travis Kelsey to vaccine debate on network. This is with Pat McAfee.
Yeah,
they're saying,
I love McAfee's hilarious.
He's good.
I used to not like him. Now I have mad respect.
Yeah.
That guy is.
ESPN Phillies number Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelsey. Rodgers playfully referred to Kelsey as Mr. Pfizer, and Kelsey responded with humor, coining the feud as Mr. Pfizer versus the Johnson & Johnson family. The controversy escalated when Rodgers, during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show, challenged Kelsey to a vaccine debate. He suggested RFK as his partner and Anthony Fauci for Kelsey. Mm-hmm. ESPN's NFL insider Adam Schefter shared a clip describing it as the potential next great American debate. The decision by ESPN to highlight this debate, which is rooted in widely debunked vaccine-related theories, this is a Mediaite story, triggered strong reactions, with gambling reporter Dustin Gauker stating ESPN should be embarrassed for airing this nonsense.
Yeah, a debate is embarrassing. Someone should find out, how much does the Walt Disney Corporation receive from Pfizer in advertising every single year?
That's a great question.
I don't know if that's public.
Right.
I watch too much football, right? It's my one indulgence. I know it's woke. I don't care. I just love it. It's a beautiful sport. It's uniquely American.
Do we have his audio of what Rodgers said on Matt?
No, we should.
By the way, this is his media outlet.
And that's AJ.
Rodgers goes to
AJ Hawk right there.
The McAfee show all the time.
And before he plays this, Charlie, let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers, Pat, has a chip on his shoulder. Remember when he didn't want to get the vaccine? Yeah. They shamed him. They called him a denier. Everybody went after him like Novak Djokovic.
Yes.
And that's why I think it was brilliant when he won the Open. God bless him and good for him. But, bro, good for him, because think about it. Who's the Travis Kelsey? God forbid all his young following, especially now with what's her face? Taylor Swift. The Swifties, and now football's up and telling people to get the vaccine. If God forbid one of these 18-year-old boys that follows you, Travis, gets myocarditis, are you paying for it? His hospital bills? Adam, are you going to take care of him? No, you're not. So to push this drug that's still freaking new on kids is ridiculous. So, I mean, I love this because this is him getting them back for the shit that they put on.
And a good point. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, 2 years ago, he, did a interview and he said he was immunized.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Immunized. So what does that mean? I got COVID. Immunized. All right.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's got some time on his hands with this Achilles injury. But do we have that audio?
I mean, listen, Mr. Pfizer said he didn't think he would be in a vax war with me. Oh. Didn't think he'd be in a vax war with me. This ain't a war, homie. This is just conversation. But if you want to have some sort of duel debate, have me on the podcast. Come on the show. Let's have a conversation.
Okay. Pass it out.
Let's do it like in John Wick 4, right? So we both have a second.
Nice.
Right? So somebody to help us out. I'm going to take my man, RFK Jr.
Okay.
As an independent.
Hell yeah.
Right? And he can have, Tony Fauci or some other pharmacrat. And we can have a conversation.
Wondering, am I going to keep this job or not?
Well, I'm happy we got that sorted. Thought for sure you were going with Rogan, but obviously.
Well, Pat, wouldn't you watch that? Wouldn't you watch?
It would never happen.
I know, but I would pay per view for that. Charlie, you wouldn't pay to see that?
Oh, it would.
Let me ask you a question. How much money would you have to pay Anthony Fauci to do a 3-hour debate, long-form podcast?
$10 million. He's not. Oh,
no, I actually am asking you a real question.
With who?
What is the dollar amount for Anthony Fauci to agree on a 3-hour debate against RFK? 3-hour. How much money would he want?
And realistically, I don't think he would do it, but $10 million. He's not. Pat,
I'm telling you right now, I'll pay the $10 million.
I know.
I will pay 10 on record right now. I'll pay Fauci $10 million, 3 hours live podcast with RFK, and he still won't do it.
Yes,
I'm telling you right now, I'll pay $10 million.
Wow.
He will not.
And he still won't do it.
Why?
He still will not do it.
Because he'll get exposed.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because he's not. There's no way this guy's going to do something like that. Do you know what RFK would do with them, with all the facts and everything? He still wouldn't.
He
do
wrote
it.
the book about him.
Yeah, that's right.
He knows about him.
If there's a guy he would never do it with, is with RFK. It would never happen. Never. He would be the type of guy that would come out and say, of course I would do it. No, this isn't about money. This is about people's health. And there's no way in the world this makes any sense to sit down and talk to an RFK like this. I'm willing to tell you, put the number at 100 million.
I was just going to say that. What if everybody raised? He wouldn't do it for 100 million?
Why do you think he won't do it?
He'll go to jail after.
Actually ask the question, why do you think he won't do it?
Why he won't? Because he'll be exposed for everything that he did and he can go to jail.
Because he can't do it.
Yeah.
The people of power will never let him do it. Yeah, that's right. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He won't get permission to do it. He works for these big pharma guys.
Right.
You can pay him $100 million. They're going to call him and say, dude,
you're gonna
go ahead and do it and see what we do to your legacy of NIH and everything that we have on you. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead. Go ahead and do that. See what happens to you. He wouldn't do it for $100 million.
So crazy because you're so right.
He wouldn't do it for $100 million. Big Pharma would never allow him to do it.
What if he said, "I'll do it, Pat. I'll take the $100 million, but you guys have to protect me"? Like they're gonna come after me.
Stop it.
No, they would.
He's done.
They do the exact opposite of protect him. They would say, "All right, listen, guy. Here's X amount of money.
I would do $10 million.
There, Tony.
I would do $10 million. I would rent out the Miami Heat Arena, okay? I would bring RFK. I would sell 20,000 tickets. I would do it live. I would bring a moderator from the left to ask questions, moderator from the right to ask questions. I'm the one that's going to be
fact checking.
I'm the one in the middle. I'm the main moderator, but I bring guys from, so you can ask RFK whatever questions you want as well, no problem. And somebody on the side can ask Fauci any questions they want outside of what RFK would ask. It would become a big event. It'd be an event the world would watch.
Wow.
And he would still not do it for $10 million.
And
I
Pat,
guarantee you.
Just to add to that, because Charlie mentioned, what Disney would do on this. Let's not forget, Disney owns ABC, which owns ESPN and the whole conglomerate right there. That's why you're bringing this up. But the bigger thing is, and you brought this up on the event that you did with Tim Pool and Matt Gaetz, which was awesome, and James O'Keefe, and you were railing against how much money goes from Big Pharma to legacy media, to the CNNs of the world, to the Foxes of the world, cable news outlets of the world, and that you were harping on. This is something that you've been studying pretty closely. What would happen if they stopped taking big pharma money, to these major cable outlets.
You know what would happen.
No, I mean, it makes up their whole bottom line, right? I mean, again, I watch a lot of football. Every other commercial is the Travis Kelce commercial. It is running nonstop.
Yep.
Do we have that commercial?
You
by
could
the
do
way,
two things at once. It's pathetic.
Get a flu shot and the vaccine.
Yeah, I
it's
see it on ESPN property probably 10 times every Saturday for college football.
Rob, we don't need to show it.
Yeah, we don't
No,
know.
we don't need to. Yeah, and those are $50,000 throw spots. So they're spending millions of dollars every day on that ad with ESPN.
Yeah, and it's crazy, Charlie. You see the World Economic Forum lady. Rob, we covered it last week. She's literally, they're not even hiding anymore. You know what she said? We tried to vaccinate the planet, didn't work. She's like, we tried, people can't grasp climate change. Now they're like, oh, let's mess with the water. They're just relentless. They're trying to get rid of all these freaking vaccines, dude. It's disgusting.
Let's talk about Steve Scalise and what's going on there. So story, Wall Street Journal, page 13, if you want to go to it. This is Speaker of the House. This is all the mess that's going on with himself, Jim Jordan. Okay, here we go. Wall Street Journal, October 10th. Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan makes pitches for House Speaker as GOP worries grow. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Republican, and Representative Jim Jordan, Ohio, outlined their visions during a closed-door candidate forum. Lawmakers discussed priorities, including reining in $33 trillion national debt, according to one participant. Some lawmakers expressed uncertainty about either candidate securing the necessary 217 votes, with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, I don't think anybody has 217. A potential rule change could require repeated votes until the winning candidate garners 217 votes, according to Representative Chip Roy. And Mark Amodi sought commitments from candidates, emphasizing support for moving a bill to transfer federal lands to Nevada. So, Charlie, what's going on?
It's
here?
a mess.
Is there going to be a decision being made?
Yeah, there will be. If Scalise becomes Speaker, I think that's a downgrade from McCarthy, to be honest. I mean, I think Scalise is a sweet guy. A Democrat tried to murder him, right? So, and he's also battling cancer.
That was during the whole softball game in D.C., was that?
Yeah, and he's also battling cancer right now. So it's not personal. Yeah. But let me just introduce, a part of this that people are afraid to mention, okay? You physically cannot do the job of Speaker of the House and travel 300 days and raise $300 million from now to next November, in my personal opinion, and also fight cancer. That's a big thing. And that sounds, kind of nasty or unfair, but that needs to be factored in. You have to understand, there's congressional elections every 2 years, right? Pat, you know what it's like to travel 300 days a year. It destroys your body, right? I traveled 3,000 days in the last decade, and it's not easy, right? My back is all screwed up. Imagine you're the Speaker of the House, you have a legislative agenda, you're constantly dealing with a very, very slim majority. You have to travel the country to go raise $300 million, okay? Minimum, because Hakeem Jeffries is building that war chest, building that war chest, building that war chest. You have to recruit candidates, keep candidates in. You're about to see a whole bunch of retirements come up, right? That's a bad sign, meaning a bunch of Republicans saying, I'm retiring. That means you have to find a new candidate. So the Speaker is in charge of a lot of that stuff at the NRCC. And I know it's if you're battling blood cancer, man, that's tough to do that, right? I think that puts us at a significant disadvantage. Plus, he's also way too moderate for my liking. Jim Jordan would have been a big upgrade, right? But Steve Scalise backed Liz Cheney in the primary in Wyoming. He's really bad on Ukraine, in my opinion. Again, nice person, terrible what he's been through, but I think this would be a downgrade if he becomes Speaker of the House.
Why didn't Jim get it though?
Well, it's not. We don't know yet. It's still.
I know, but there was one time
because he's too conservative. Yeah, there's 150 people in the House Republican caucus that are incredibly moderate, right? Very, very moderate. You get like a bad impression because the people that go on television, Anna Paulina Luna, Matt Gaetz, they actually don't make a majority of the Republican conference. A majority of the Republican conference never goes on TV. They kind of keep their head down. They like the title congressman, but they're very moderate. They're transactional Republican regime politicians, right? They kind of just vote for how they're told. They do what leadership tells them. I don't even know. I know a lot about politics. I don't know like 100 of these guys, right? They're kind of just in the background, but they are very, very mad that McCarthy's no longer Speaker. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to hold the line, and they're like, we're getting a more moderate Speaker. We're going to be in charge. And this is them exacting revenge on Biggs and Rosendale and, Roy and those guys.
So do you think Matt Gaetz could move when he pushed McCarthy out?
Well, I first of all, I was asked him at the time, I said, what is the plan? And he said that anyone is better than Kevin McCarthy. I said, that's not true. Okay. That I don't agree with that. But I said, Matt, you'll either be proven right or be proven wrong, right? If you get a more conservative Speaker, someone that I think Jim Jordan, by the way, would be amazing at raising the money. He's, a former, really college level wrestler, wrestling coach. Like, he has great physical stamina. Like, he could really go toe to toe with Jeffries on the fundraising tour and the travel circuit, like all that stuff that sometimes can really wear you down. To Kevin McCarthy's credit, he took that very seriously. He traveled like a crazy person just to be able to, handle everything. But Jordan should be the guy. And it's not over yet, but it doesn't look very good for him.
Would you nominate Jordan? I didn't even know about Steve Scalise having blood cancer as we speak. How is that even a consideration?
It's melanoma or something. Can you fact check me on that?
Melanoma, skin cancer, but if it's blood cancer, it's probably leukemia. It's probably what it is. Either way, he's dealing with cancer right now. Not exactly advantageous.
See, I wasn't that far off. Myeloma. I'm sorry.
Myeloma.
Okay.
Yeah, myeloma. So if you, because it sounds like you've had some conversations with Matt Gaetz and you had some agreements and disagreements, who would you want to see nominated? Because they're talking about nominating Trump, which would literally flip crazy Nancy on her. Flip her in her grave, so to speak.
What do you think? De Niro would kill himself.
Yeah. I think Jim Jordan would be great. I mean, I think Jim Jordan's super conservative. I've known Jim for years. He would do a terrific job. Honestly, we need to just get the speaker position filled. We have such a slim majority. Every day we're just burning time. We have a continuing resolution coming up.
That's exactly what Democrats want, by the way.
No, I mean, they're loving this, right? We have a wide open border. We have not done anything to rein in Jack Smith. We've done nothing to materially actually find out where the Ukraine money is going. The administrative state is out of control. Like, the top priorities for me, none of them are getting done if we don't have a speaker, right? And if Steve Scalise makes some commitments and he proves me wrong, great. I mean, I'm not going to really oppose him at this point. We have such a slim majority. At this point, are we going to keep the House in January 2025? And honestly, the odds are not good. The odds are not good for Republicans to keep the House.
But to be clear, Charlie, it sounds like you would have been cool with McCarthy staying speaker.
Yeah, versus Scalise. Yeah, and it's well known. I get along with Kevin. I have for years. I mean, I think he made a miscalculation on the continuing resolution. I wish he would have held the line, and shutting down the government, I think, would have been appropriate, to be perfectly honest, because it's actually not a shutdown. It's more like a pause. We are a debtor nation, $2 trillion deficit. That's your annual burn. Unsustainable. In my opinion, it should have been the Republicans' big last stand, and instead, he did a punt, and he punted 45 days. He lost the speakership as a result of it. We are destroying the dollar, right? Our deficit spending is shredding the dollar. We don't have a border. We're in a crisis, and I wish the Republicans would have held the line a lot better.
Last thing
with that last CR.
How much of this with Matt Gaetz, because we were just with him, was personal?
A lot. 90%, 95%.
So this wasn't even about the countries. Like, at the end of the day, Matt Gaetz, and I'm not saying that it's not about America. This is a personal issue with McCarthy.
I'm speculating, but it seemed to be hyper-personal.
Wow.
Yeah. It seemed
kind of like how De Niro and Trump have a thing. Yeah. Gaetz and McCarthy got a thing.
Didn't they have a few? That's something in 2021. Something happened between them in 2021.
There's something about an ethics investigation, too, that McCarthy didn't drop. And then allegedly Gaetz was accusing McCarthy of hiring people to go after him online. So this thing was just bubbling up, right?
And of course, before McCarthy became the Speaker of the House, there was a 15-vote process.
Which was awfully humiliating for McCarthy,
Of course. And there was literally almost a physical altercation between Gaetz and another congressman. This was a personal issue.
And I'm friends with Matt. And I told Matt, I said, Matt, you're the member of Congress. You're betting big, man. You're going all in Texas Hold'em. This could end up being really good.
Yeah.
If we get Scalise, at the best, it's a wash that we now lost a couple weeks and we got humiliated and it looks like a Chinese fire drill. And at the worst, we get somebody who isn't as conservative, who does not even have, in my personal opinion, the time. Let's just forget the physical part. If you're fighting cancer, man, the time alone is going to distract you from what is necessary for us to beat the Democrats. And I say that from a compassionate standpoint. I want him to go beat cancer, right?
Yeah.
It's just he's gonna have a lot on his plate.
I mean, if you're dealing with cancer, respect, deal with that.
That's what I'm saying.
Automatic disqualifier.
Oh my God! Can you imagine the stress and everything that adds on to it?
Why is he the leading candidate? Who?
Because McCarthy's running a shadow campaign to get him. Because he's very close to McCarthy. So think about it. McCarthy steps down. He still wants the power. He wants the power behind the throne, right? He was the one that recruited 180 of the candidates that make up the majority, right? Mm-hmm. He's the one that busted his tail. And McCarthy wants to exact revenge on those guys that got rid of him. And so McCarthy's not going away.
What do you think
that's what
McCarthy
I told Matt
would want to do to get Matt Gaetz? On a personal level, or even on a political level, what would McCarthy want to see happen to Gaetz?
I mean, I can't speak for Kevin in that way, but it's going to get really nasty. I mean, he's already running. McCarthy's PAC is already running some of the nastiest ads I've ever seen against those 8 people.
What's McCarthy's relationship with Trump today?
They've always gotten along, but I think Kevin is disappointed Trump didn't bail him out. Trump could have bailed him out.
Yeah.
So Trump could have either come to D.C. or tweeted and said, guys, stop it. Kevin's our guy. Don't do this. Trump could have saved Kevin's speakership.
Last question on this from me.
So I think Kevin's a little sour
does
on that.
all this House of Representatives saga help or hurt the Democrats?
It helps the Democrats.
Are you kidding me?
It's not even close. And by the way,
so like, why would you do this then to help the other party?
the argument was, and I understand this argument, I really do, that we have zero legislative wins while the country's legitimately financially collapsing. And that is not an exaggeration. We are destroying the dollar. We're borrowing money we don't have. And the Republicans were like, you know what? When are we going to fight? Mm-hmm. We got screwed on the debt ceiling. We got screwed on the budget. And we got screwed on continuing resolution. I kind of get that sentiment. I really do. That would have been probably strategically smarter if you don't have a 4-seat majority, okay? Mm-hmm. That's one of the smallest majorities in American history, right? And again, I keep on going after this. You have to always look at, am what I'm doing is increasing or decreasing the chances that we keep the House in the next session? That's not the most important thing, but it's important. And it's significantly decreased. Hakeem Jeffries' donations have gone up. Yep. Democrats are recruiting really exciting, good candidates. Republican enthusiasm is down in the House of Representatives. So we got a serious problem. Yeah, so it's either, this is a Hail Mary pass, either you score some crazy touchdown in the end, Hail Mary style, or you get, or you turn the ball over, or at the very best, other team gets it. Yeah, at the very best, you get offsetting penalties. You're like, well, that was a waste of time, right? I mean, and so that's the best case scenario. Here's your college game day that you're all about. I could use football analogies all day long, all right? Day. But no, I mean, what I will say, though, is that House Republicans need to start fulfilling the mandate that their voters gave them. And the three big priorities is you have to get this Ukraine funding under control. I think you have to cut it completely and get rid of it. You have to get Jack Smith and the DOJ to have some sort of check and balance, and the border, right? And if I had to add a fourth, which is, can you please cut spending, guys? Mm-hmm. $2 trillion deficit is unsustainable. We are a debtor nation. We are destroying our purchasing power. It is harder than ever to buy a home. Inflation is a silent tax and a silent killer for working people. It disincentivizes saving. And inflation is a direct corollary to how much money Washington, D.C. spends.
By the way, let's talk about something important. If you can pull this up, Rob, which is probably the most important issue taking place in the country today. You can pull it up. Deeply concerning, specifically for those who live in the state of California.
Oh, Skittles.
Yeah, if you can pull this up. We have to bring attention to this. Catastrophic. So California becomes the first state to ban Skittles.
No, this has got to be a Babylon Bee article.
And 12,000 additional products for cancer-causing
I think it's real.
By the way.
Okay, what is puberty? That doesn't
when you know it's on puberty Instagram, you know it's for real.
Watch who retweets it at the top. Go see who retweets it at the top. Mario Lopez, Saved by the Bell.
Oh my God, they're speaking up.
Okay, so crime is
this real? First of all, is the story real?
We're going to look this up. Crime is through the roof. Okay, Rob, go back to the tweet.
I don't believe it.
Go back to crime is through the roof. Worst drug epidemic ever. Homelessness at an all-time high in California. Let's focus on Skittles. Okay. Mm-hmm. By the way, they responded back to it, and there's a story that says, you've seen this or no?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, they respond back to it, and they said Newsom just signed the California Skittles ban into law. USA Today, new California law won't ban Skittles, but could change food additives. Okay, USA Today response. So it is a back and forth.
It's so funny though.
Yeah, but Governor Newsom on Saturday signed.
It's almost believable.
Yeah, no shit.
But by the way, no, hang on one second, because it is true though. This is the part that the fact that you're thinking this is a Babylon Bee story.
He's removing four
makes me want to share this even more. Share the USA Today story that I just texted you. That at least this one's going to give it. So, and then if you go a little lower, I'll just read it for him to see it. Second paragraph, I just texted it to you. The article reads, a bill that became known as the Skittles ban is now California law. This is USA Today. Okay, so check this out. A bill that became known, okay, zoom out a little bit more. No, a little bit more. There you go. And then zoom in. A bill that became known, can you show what the source is? USA Today. A bill that became known as the Skittles ban is now California law. Here's what it does. Governor Newsom on Saturday signed a law misleading known as the Skittles ban, which will prohibit the manufacture and sale of 4 chemicals used in as many as 12,000 food products. Okay, go a little lower. On the second paragraph, Governor Newsom on Saturday signed a misleading law known to brominated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, and a couple other things, red dye 3. The 4 chemicals are used in as many as 12,000 products across the country, despite never having been approved for consumption by the Food and Drug Administration, according to an environmental working group. Advocates have long expressed concerns about the potential health problems that can be caused by eating these products. Can you imagine if people leave California for banning Skittles, but not for forcing COVID vaccine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Obviously, when I'm saying COVID vaccine force, they almost did. And Mario Lopez, I want to finish up his tweet. Can you go back to the tweet on what he said? Go up there. Yeah, zoom out. There you go. Zoom in a little bit at the top. Crime is through the roof. Worst epidemic ever. Homeless is at an all-time high, but let's focus on Skittles.
I'm shocked that by the way, he's in with that. Yeah. He is like Hollywood.
He's in the in crowd, right?
He's in the in crowd. For him to go against.
Well, you know who else has been saying stuff like this? Oh. He has. Mark Wahlberg has.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's turning. Yeah, he's
Wahlberg has. He moved to Nevada. He's there. He's fully there, by the way. He's knocking on the door. Chris Pratt has been there for a while. Okay, so more and more people are starting to kind of say it's a little bullshit. I mean, I'm not good with this here.
Right. And Mario Lopez, who we've had at same event you were at in Vegas. Wahlberg we know about. Chris Pratt we know about. But Mario Lopez, I mean, he's the guy that you've go in any hotel ever. He's the guy that doing the whole movie.
I think Mario was on Candace Owens like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that, right? And he got in trouble for saying something.
He does the movie guide stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I challenge you guys out there to find me one Gen Z Hollywood actor. Find me one. Gen Z, so that's 25 and under, who's center right. Find me one that you can name. I can't think of one. I mean, you put it in the comments. But if you're not in that Hollywood elite woke left crowd, mob some may call it, you're canceled. So, you know, when you have an established career like Mark Wahlberg or even Chris Pratt, and you sort of you're sort of
Mark Wahlberg is an OG though.
That's
I mean, Mark goes
Boston.
Back. I'm gonna what was his don't call it a comeback. Which one is the song?
Comeback. I've been here
Don't
for
call
years.
it a, no.
You're
That's
thinking
LL
of
Cool
Good
J.
Vibrations.
No, Good Vibrations.
Come on, let's get
Good
our
Vibrations.
hip-hop right.
He was a
Good
Calvin Klein model. I mean, the movie he played, Fear.
Oh my God, he's banging his chest. Oh, that was a great.
Way before Wolf of Wall Street did this. He got it from him.
Yeah, he did. Basketball Diaries.
What's crazy is the most ironic thing about these Skittles thing. If California was a candy, it would be Skittles.
1,000%.
With the LGBT and the woke and the DEI and the ESG and everything that's going on.
How dare you ban something like that?
I love Skittles. Okay?
You and me both.
Starburst, Skittles. You're talking my language.
Poison.
But California banning Skittles.
I was actually thinking about going back to California, moving there.
Pat, the thing about this though, this is going to be great for you know who. When DeSantis debates him, if I was DeSantis, I'd look right at him and like, and he goes like this as he leaves. He should go.
Would you like some Skittles?
Taste the rainbow. Like I would screw with him every moment. I'd be like, taste the rainbow.
Somebody would say, shame on you for eliminating the rainbow in the state of California.
Oh, really?
Shame on you.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Taste the rainbow.
Yeah.
Just troll him the whole time.
The whole time.
By the way, your thoughts on this debate with DeSantis and Newsom? Is it like I've never heard of this happening before? One's running for president, one's not. What do you think?
Well, first,
about
I mean, Newsom is slick. He's got a talent, and I'm just gonna be honest. Like game knows game, right? And that guy can play.
He says he fell for it. He fell for it.
Yeah.
Remember when he said that about DeSantis?
And I mean, when he goes on conservative media and he can play. I don't think he'd survive the PBD podcast, but he preys on conservative media that
he has an open invitation.
Yes, and I mean, same on my show. Anytime Gavin Newsom can come on the show. So, as from a presidential standpoint, I mean, Trump's going to be the nominee, so it's kind of just a waste of time. I do think it's actually healthy to have a conversation, though, and this is why I wish DeSantis would just right now see where he's at, drop out, become a great governor, and reassert that he's been a great governor and continue to be. I'll say nothing but positive things. But the national conversation is there are really two Americas being built right now. And California is a hellhole. It's a dystopian nightmare. If you have money, you can maybe escape it, but it is a hellhole on the streets. Drugs, homelessness, vagrancy, mutilation of children, quality of standards of education, businesses, taxes. And Florida is a completely different environment. And Patrick, I was in California last week. Just from an energy standpoint, like a vibe and an attitude, the people in California are just heavy and dark and just, it's not the spirit.
That's usually New York's thing, guys.
No, but I mean, it's not the California energy that I'm used to. I come here in Florida, and boy, things are happening, man. Right? Mm-hmm. It has a buzz to it.
Florida would love to have you, by the way.
Well, thank you. I need to save Arizona, just for the record. You want me to save Arizona. If Arizona's not saved, there's no republic. So you want Charlie Kirk in Arizona.
Charlie, you're sort of echoing what PBD has been saying for weeks now, if not months, that after railing on Newsom for years during COVID, called him U-Haul Employee of the Year. We saw that, a U-Haul to go to California is like $1,000 to get the hell out of California.
Correct.
It's like $5,000.
Yeah.
But he's slick. He's skilled. What is it about him that people in California recognize? Oh, I hate that guy, but honestly, he goes on conservative media and he dominates.
Well, yeah. First, part of it is you use the right word, dominant. Part of it is just he's so cocky that he just kind of intimidates the host and talks over him, and he just tries to act more alpha. That's why he would not do well with Patrick Bet-David, right? that dog would not hunt around here, right? And because he would avoid that. Tucker Carlson would obliterate him, right? Would you agree, Patrick? It would be sport, right? Yeah, it would be a spectacle, and it would be just out of control. So no.
You're saying Hannity is a lightweight?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying Hannity is used to old cable television and not new age internet, lifetime, back and forth type debate style. It's not. Sean's a friend, and I'm not accusing Sean. I'm saying Sean is treating Gavin Newsom like a 1990s cable guest, where you kind of both state your point, and you say, "Oh, it's nice having you. Thanks, Mr. Combs, right? Hannity and Combs." Gavin Newsom plays the new age viral TikTok debate. I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna get that 30-second boom, put it on social. It's like, oh, he owned him.
Yeah.
I kind of live in that world. Right?
That's right. You're definitely one of those.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
We helped.
You got a few billion views of that.
Yeah, we have a couple billion. Exactly. We helped create that genre. Shapiro, Walsh, Candace, and I. We were kind of some of the pioneers there.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So I see Newsom. I'm like, either he gets it intuitively, spends a lot of time on social, or he has a team that's kind of coached him. And so it's not a knock on Hannity, but Ron DeSantis better treat this kind of in that format. This is not a policy debate. Okay. Gavin Newsom's just going to lie, right? So one of the rules of Marxists is show, don't tell. Okay, so here's how DeSantis should handle it, because I'm going to be cheering for DeSantis, right? DeSantis will say, Governor Newsom, someone's leaving your state every 8 minutes. And Gavin Newsom will be like, no, that's not true. In fact, we have all these great. And so he has to Gavin Newsom has to, New York Times, see Gavin Newsom, someone's leaving every 8 minutes. You have to show.
Fact check it in real time.
You know the thing that Trump did when he's like, let me get the numbers.
Marxists hate it when you show. Telling is not enough because they'll just lie.
Yeah, because like when Trump brought the 4 women that accused Clinton of sexual assault, it was the most mind-blowing thing.
All of a sudden,
to a presidential debate, Trump turned into the Jerry Springer show. The most insane thing I've ever seen, but he showed the world. And if you remember what Clinton looked like in that debate,
Hillary was freaked out.
Yeah.
Hillary was like, it's really bad what Trump said. Let's talk about bombing Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like, wait, all of a sudden it was over. And so I actually like the idea that the debate is happening. The presidential implications are silly. But the debate of you can have a different country based on how states operate is very interesting. Florida has unbelievable outcomes, right? In education and business. You guys don't have to, your audience knows it too.
Keep it a secret here, though, Charlie. Nobody knew about Florida and Miami until you guys started showing up.
But I will say, if Newsom ties and/or wins that debate, it would be a tragedy. It would be because the facts are so not on his side. Would you agree, Patrick?
Oh,
I mean, it's like defending the Soviet Union.
But give me the argument. What does he have to win? What does he have to gain? What does DeSantis have to gain from doing that?
He's down 50 points with Trump. It's not a bad idea. He's trying to get some sort of visibility, right? He's trying to get some sort of credibility. So I'm not overly impressed right now with DeSantis' ability to play ball with this kind of game, right? Where DeSantis is like, come, do the speech, do great policy, move on. Now, Trump v. Newsom, woo! Like, Trump would just, that Trump is built in that he kind of created that kind of, you'd be in jail and, boom, and we'll bomb him and this and that. And like the one-liners, he's just like.
Oh, he's the best. But other than that, right? You want to talk about gangster, Pat? You talked earlier. Trump bringing the rape victims to that is gangster.
Yes.
By the way, him when Hillary goes, it's awfully good that Trump isn't in charge of the laws in this country, and he goes, yeah, because you'd be in jail. That is a gangster fighter.
Yes.
And by the way, if I was Newsom, to go further with the Skittle thing, if I was DeSantis, I would, because he sits there and they're going to be face to face. I would fill up those high heel cowboy boots with Skittles. At the end,
and honestly, if I was DeSantis, I would get nasty first.
100%.
I would go low. This guy's a bad dude. You say, you know what, Gavin? Where have you ever been in charge where it's not hell? San Francisco's a hellhole. You never take responsibility for anything. If you believe in San Francisco so much, will you walk at 3 a.m. from Fisherman's Wharf to the Transamerica building without a bodyguard? Yes or no, Gavin Newsom?
No.
Show me. Show me that you would walk from Fisherman's Wharf. And Gavin would go, no, you're filibuster. No. You wouldn't. Better question. Would you let your son? Yeah. Would you let your son at 3 a.m. in San Francisco? Guess what? 30 years ago, the answer was, of course. One of the safest cities on the planet. Now they get mugged. You get kidnapped. Right? You get defecated by some crazy person. That's how you have to play that game with Gavin. Aggression, put him on defense because he plays ball, man. Yeah. Like I'm just being honest.
He's a gamer.
I think he's one.
I respect his game.
No,
I respect his game a lot.
And I'll be honest. Like the fact he showed up at the Republican debate, like that dude has stones. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna lie, right? Like. I mean,
we agree.
You go to the Reagan Library, like anyone can come up and film a question to you. I was like, man, that's like,
respect.
That's kind of.
Is this DeSantis' Hail Mary, to use that term again?
DeSantis is not going to be the nominee. The Hail Mary, he's down 56-0 with like 30 seconds left on the clock. Yeah. Sure, it's like all like moral points at this.
It's not Hail Mary.
How is he still fundraising at this point? I think he just brought in another $20 million, whatever the number was.
Iowa.
I'm sure.
How are people still?
He moved his entire team to Iowa, $50 million.
His consultants can be very persuasive, and also a lot of these donors, they don't live in the grassroots like I do. Like I give hundreds of speeches a year. Okay, I can read an audience really well. Who are you voting for? Trump. I'm like, whoa. And then you see it in the polls and you confirm it, and it's across the board.
But the polls don't matter, according to DeSantis, Charlie.
Well, okay. I mean, then show me one when you're within 10 points, right? I mean, and not just polls. How about audience size, like social media chatter? Show me one metric. How about this? Small dollar donations. Trump raised $30 million. DeSantis raised like 5 or 6. You can fact check me on it, right? In his last quarter. It's the small dollar donors equal support. Bernie Sanders actually showed us this, right? Everyone was like, oh, Bernie isn't real. And I was like, man, the dude has like 1 million donors. He's going to give Hillary a run for her money. And he was right, right? If you have people that give you $10, that's like basically 1,000 votes, right? And it was right. Like Bernie Sanders played against him. So, no, but Gavin, here's the thing with Gavin. Gavin is a cocky SOB. He is a cocky dude.
He's the Trump of the left.
Yeah, but
minus the money and the.
He is.
Ed Baladia.
He's the guy that walks around with his nose up in the air, and one of these days he's going to get crossed over by someone who knows the game better than him, right? So that he's going to get punched in the mouth metaphorically by a PBD or a Tucker or a Walsh or a Shapiro or someone like me. Because there's only so much ball you could play, and Icarus is going to fly too close to the sun.
And Charlie, one could argue that Gavin Newsom is the definition of fake news. He's almost like the emperor has no clothes on. He's running around with this holier than thou methodology, ideology. I'll show up anywhere.
Yes.
But under the cloak, it's homelessness, crime, nakedness.
This is the truth, and I've actually thought deeply about this. The only reason California is not like legitimately a third world country is because of the weather. At this point, and there is nothing left except the weather. I talk to people in California. I'm like, okay, so you got like vagrancy everywhere. Yeah. You got highest taxes, regulation, California Franchise Tax Board. The schools are a mess. Why? Well, Charlie, have you ever walked at 67 degrees in the morning in Thousand Oaks, California?
So crazy, but you're so right.
And it's awfully persuasive. I got to be honest. Like if you walk up to those, you know what I'm talking about? That dew mist and kind of the marine layer that sets in. And it's kind of like that aspen feel. You're like, yeah, maybe I don't care. Maybe I don't care if the homeless guy.
Right. Yeah. But then you have the guy that's like, yeah, I would love to do that, but gas costs $7 a gallon, and I can't even make it on the other side of town.
What I'm saying though is it would be so much worse, right? It's like it's almost California is a test case of how bad can you make a civilization with like pleasant mornings and evenings.
For me, they crossed the line with Skittles. It's over. Once you get there, it's done.
No, but this video is not an exaggeration. It's just
that looks like a different country.
No,
that's actually, is that Hollywood, Pat? Where is that?
That's in LA.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
That video's from a couple years ago, but it hasn't. It hasn't gotten better.
Pat, I genuinely left right like that right there under the bridges in Burbank, like Laurel Canyon. It was
Vinny, that's your old house, right?
That's
there.
my old
There you go,
apartment right
buddy.
there. That tent is actually my apartment. But yeah, it's getting really, really bad. But you nailed it, bro. People are like, dude, the traffic, everything is like, yeah, but
the weather.
nice. There's
Dude,
no
I went
humidity.
surfing this morning, and I'm going skiing in the afternoon.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
great.
humidity.
Let's go. By the way, I think about it. Trump. I don't know if he drives a car or not. When's the last time he drove a car?
Or he texts.
When's the last time he drove a car?
I saw him the other day for about an hour and a half. We didn't talk about that, but he talks openly about how he misses driving. He used to love driving. Yeah.
PBD, I figured it out. This is my kind of guy. Donald Trump doesn't drive.
No, you know what?
Ubers everywhere. That's my guy.
Yeah, no, that's right. Exactly. No, I didn't make it up. Donald Trump misses driving. So that's right.
That's so freaking funny.
I can see it though. But by the way, I can see him driving, and if he's by himself, you know what song I see him playing? Thug Life, for sure.
100%.
By himself.
There's a video of him, Melania, and Barron in the car, and they were playing like Taylor Swift or something.
He's playing Hit 'em Up.
What was it?
I don't see Taylor Swift.
No, it's Trump
see Hit 'em
driving in
Up.
the car with Melania and Barron, and he's playing. It's something. I don't know.
I'm saying when he's by himself, it's like all I need
That's it.
in this
That's
life
the video.
is sin.
That's the video.
Is
That's
me
it.
and Melania.
So that's DJT driving on the Brooklyn Bridge
This is when?
What's he listening to?
years ago, like 10 years ago.
They're listening to
Not a good look for Trump to be just jamming
He's
out to
chilling,
Taylor
though.
Swift. Right
But by the way, you know what's
No,
weird?
he's not controlling the
Let
dial.
me tell you, it doesn't.
She is.
his son.
Or he is.
Oh, Barron is sitting to the right.
Oh, that's Barron.
Barron's like
Melania.
7'9". That's huge.
Future center of the Dallas Mavericks under
Yeah,
Cuban.
dude, yeah.
Let's go to the next story here before we wrap up. Rob, can you put up the story with, this is Vinny's story. One of Vinny's favorite porn stars, Mia Khalifa. If you want to kind of
Such a good girl.
Do you want to talk about what's going on here with her?
You want me to break down what
Go-
happened with
go
her?
ahead, go ahead.
Such a great actress. I mean, I wouldn't call her a porn star anymore. But anyway,
The level of hypocrisy in this story is what I want you to
it's
get
ridiculous.
to. But go ahead.
So, former porn star Mia Khalifa, she's basically praised Hamas. If you guys have seen for what
No,
they've
look
done
at
over the
that. That
past
tweet
week.
is unbelievable.
Yeah, Doug, can someone please tell the freedom fighters in Palestine to flip their phones and film horizontally? And Pat, you said this at the beginning of the podcast. And something like this, a crisis of this magnitude, people really show who they are. When the grass is
Filtering
cut,
system.
the snakes will show. So she said that, which is basically saying, hey, can I get a better look? I want an HD wide version of children and people getting murdered and burned to death. But you guys don't want to know the most ironic part about the whole situation?
What's
Those same freedom fighters that she is praising would chop her head off if she went to Palestine or she went anywhere in the Muslim world and just Charlie, you nailed it. She was having sex with on top of the Palestinian
hijab.
and the hijab on. Let me explain something.
She did what?
On the flag, right?
She was having sex with the dude on the flag, and she had a hijab on. I'm telling you, Mia, all
right
this.
there. Read the story. ISIS threat.
To kill porn star Mia Khalifa for having sex in a hijab.
Yeah.
Let me explain
And
something.
ISIS is Hamas. It's similar methodology and ideology.
I would dare you to go to any one of these Muslim nations and talk that shit. Don't even talk that shit. Show your face, and you're gonna disappear, and they're gonna behead you.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to be praising what they're doing to innocent people is absolutely disgusting. And bro, it's only a matter of time with something like this. Like, by the way, she's on their radar.
Yeah, that's
Charlie.
right.
She's not going like. And especially with this Friday the 13th, this guy's calling for a jihad. She should be hiding more than anybody.
Well, the cognitive dissonance and the moral authority from a 3-time divorced literal porn star that has sex on the Palestinian flag to equivocate what's happening right there. Like, this is only in America.
Well, and
where a left feminist Palestinian sympathizer, Hamas sympathizer can give some equivocation here. How do you break this down?
Well, I mean, I said this earlier. I mean, she's not alone, though. I mean, the reaction to what happened in Israel has showed us a disturbing window into how widespread Jew hatred and evil is. It's been a massive wake up call for some people. I mean, college students, elites that are cheering it on, that are saying it's terrific what happened, and the butchery, the savagery, and I mean, it's not hard to understand how the Holocaust happened.
And Charlie, can I ask you a question, bro? Like the squad, because we saw reports. Somebody from I'm guessing it was Fox. They were going up to what's her name? Not Ilhan Omar. Who's the other one?
Rashida Tlaib?
Rashida Tlaib,
Right
and
there.
they're just asking her, Pat, and if it's okay, we'll show it. They're just asking her, are you cool with children getting beheaded? I get that you're from Palestine, and I understand that you have the flag.
Somebody asked a question.
She was born in America.
Play the clip.
She's born in America, but that's...
And some of them were beheaded right in front of their parents, and then their parents were killed after the parents had to watch their babies beheaded. So that's what, and then she has a Palestinian flag outside of her office. So Hillary's asking her about, do you condone what's happening?
Watch.
Terrorists have cut off babies' heads and burned children alive. Do you support Israel's rights to defend themselves against this brutality?
Her handler's in front.
You can't comment about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads. Do you condone what Hamas has done, chopping off babies' heads, burning children alive, raping women in the street?
Look at that. She doesn't give a shit.
Oh, of course she
doesn't care.
Why would she?
She doesn't care. She follows her to the elevator. I would have gone in with her.
Being chopped off?
Look. Well, what is he gonna do? Like, well, who is this guy? Get out of here, bro.
Congressman, why do you have a Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorists have done to Israel?
Yeah. Because think about this, because Adam, two things can exist. Two things can exist in the same time, right, guys? You can denounce what Hamas is doing to the innocent lives, and at the same time still say my heart goes out to the Palestinians and the children that are going to be affected.
Yes, I mean it's a typical political answer. Terrible what happened. Please leave me alone. You know, let's let tension simmer. But she's silent. You know why? Her constituency supports this.
Yep.
And we don't have time to get into that, Patrick. But it has been a big disappointment how many American Muslims have been vocal in support of this. It's been a massive, massive disappointment.
One thing to consider is, look, as a Jew, I empathize with the people of Gaza. I do. Like, if you're dealing in this sort of quasi open air prison style system on lockdown, I get it. Why would you be angry? But you also have to look in the mirror. You've elected Hamas to be over 50% of your government. That is ISIS. That is Hezbollah.
Yes.
That is Al-Qaeda. That's who you've elected. Now, for the other half that did not elect them, I empathize with you. But here's the next question. You talked about the allies or the peace treaties that Israel has, whether it's Jordan, whether it's Egypt, whether they're working on.
They have to be very careful.
The country right next to Gaza is what?
Egypt.
Egypt.
Yes, they don't.
So let's focus on Egypt for a second.
They don't want them.
Okay, why won't Egypt open up their borders? The Sinai Peninsula is right there.
That's right.
Massive desert. Why won't they open their borders to help their fellow Muslim Brotherhood? Why won't they do that? Because they know once they open those borders, it's not just innocent civilians coming through.
That's exactly
It is Hamas,
right.
militant Islamic terrorists.
Everyone in the region knows the truth.
That will be showing up to Egypt. So everyone wants to place blame on Israel, and I get it. Let's talk about your friends Egypt right there being like, no, nothing to see here. No, why not Egypt?
What Netanyahu should do, if we had an American president, which we don't, we have a traitor in the Oval Office, is the next flight should be to the Middle East and say, Bibi, we give you $4 billion a year. Don't invade yet. You can do your rockets or whatever. And you bring in the King Abdullah from Jordan. You bring in whoever is Al-Sisi still running Egypt? I can't keep track. You bring in anyone who's sympathetic, and you have a joint press conference, or you first a meeting with Bibi and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in and kill Hamas, okay? And you let the Arab leaders talk. Deep down, the Arab leaders actually hate Hamas. Like, they really do. They know it's aligned with Iran.
Yes.
You got to get these guys in a room. You got to have some sort of an agreement, because here the problem is, again, overreaction. It's just going to take one of these actors. All it takes is for Egypt to say our neutrality is gone. Woof. Man, that would be a disaster. It would be a disaster for the world. But that's where American leadership can come in, right? Mm-hmm. Trump would do that immediately. He did the Abraham Accords. Joe Biden has everyone at war. Donald Trump had peace with Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. He had flights going from the UAE to Israel. Still does because of what Donald Trump did. And Joe Biden has babies being butchered in Israel. Yep. When America's not at least diplomatically leading, you got serious, huge problem.
Gang, again, as usual, it's always great to have the great Charlie Kirk here with us.
Thank you, guys.
Charlie, keep doing what you're doing.
Love the show.
Your voice is very important.
Subscribe to the podcast, everybody.
Charlie, this is your third time being here or fourth time?
I think this is the third time.
And the last time before you turn 30.
Isn't that amazing?
Happy birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday to Charlie Kirk.
Can I give a quick shout out? If you haven't seen on Valuetainment, PBD just did a video called Israel versus Palestine Explained.
Sick.
You did it yesterday. It's almost at 2 million views right now, which is awesome. I think you did a great job. I think you were fair, but you also, held the feet to the fire to who actually are the terrorists here.
Yes.
So respect to you for doing that. You've gotten a lot of praise for doing that. Respect, PBD. Yep. And by the way, do we have another podcast later this afternoon?
We may have another one.
Okay,
today. Yes.
Gotcha. And I'm doing a big event for Soscast this evening, late night after hours, party time.
And next Wednesday, I know it's your birthday, October 18th, I'll be at the Tampa Improv.
I'm opening for Vinny. I'm the opener. Gang, have a great one. We'll do this again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.